My name is Sebastian Salceda, and I chose a story from chapter 14, Education and Healthcare, as this is the one that stood out to me the most, and not just because I'm going into education, but I found it really intriguing to talk about. The one thing that was interesting to me was the video over A Tale of Two Schools, as it was an eye-opening video when seeing how two students, being David and Owen, who have a lot in common, but when it came to academics, it was just so much different, and not just because where they lived, but also what their schools could offer them. Both kids were very hardworking and looking to set themselves up for college, but obviously their journeys in education were not looked at by their performance or abilities, but instead of by their economic and racial divides within the school districts. And watching this play out showed that the issue of inequality within education can feel more real and even personal sometimes. Um, what I also found intriguing was how the different support systems were for Owen, who went to a well-funded and mainly white school, who also had plenty of access to counselors, which did help him through filling out college application processes. And they also encouraged him to show his full potential, while on the other hand, David, who went to a mainly black school and had less resources compared to Owen, and was basically left out in the open when trying to solve things and on his own. And instead of having the help like Owen did, it was honestly a culture shock to me to see that, just because you could obviously see the differences in Owen, well-funded white school, and many counselors that could just help him guide through things, while David has to not fend for his own, but also having to solve things on his own. Like I said, this was a culture shock to me, and how much expectations for these students was so different, and mainly based off of what school they went to by the demographics, while also the funding. Even though the two students were very similar potential wise, it just shows how inequality isn't always seen as clear or even intentional, but basically built into the system, as this film didn't blame the individuals, but basically exposed how property taxes and also housing segregation can play a role in affecting the educational opportunities for students. And I've seen that a few times, especially where I'm from. I've had friends live on the other side of the road, and we would not go to the same school, even though they were just so close to me. And it's obviously terrible that that's happening, because one school can't offer the best education while the other one can. And I think that's really something that needs to be looked at. I feel like everyone should get the same opportunity to succeed and get the best education they can, and sometimes it's not like that. But what also made me realize how these problems aren't just about fixing the school district, but mainly addressing bigger issues in our society today. So this film was very impactful, though. The storytelling of it is also, like I said, it was a culture shock to see how they were both the same student, but were receiving different things just because of what schools they went to. But seeing the two students live their day-to-day lives and hearing from them, which made it so much more impactful, getting their own perspective of things, and especially with it being on their futures. Overall, it was just a great documentary, and if I were you, I would definitely take the time to watch it. I learned a lot from this, and it didn't have me frustrated in a way, but like I said, it's just crazy to see how two students who are very similar weren't getting the same education just because one school was more, not just, how do I say it, more funded, but they had the counselors that could help them. Basically, they had people there that were willing to help and stuff like that, while David was just having to fend for himself. And I can't imagine that. I mean, especially if you're filling out college applications, and if you're not getting the support at home, then you go to school looking for the support there and you're not receiving it. I can see it's frustrating, but overall, like I said, it was a great film, great documentary, excuse me. And honestly, I'm really glad I chose this one. It was really interesting to watch and talk about, and I hope you check it out as well.